I love it. I think it's hysterical the way it looks. And it was in incredibly bad state of repair. So it was a natural candidate for buying, really.
Not many people that I know do walk around with rubble and bits of wood on the floor.
Now watch your step. It's a bit dodgy up here. I was sitting in the kitchen having a quiet cup of coffee, and a rat wandered past me on the floor, not, 3 feet away from my foot, as if, you know, this is my room, not your room. And I was just so shocked I couldn't move.
And this is your bedroom?
You just have to deal with it, really. The hardest thing is to deal with it.
We had water pouring down the walls at one point during winter.
And it's quite funny when, let's say, the roof falls in when it's snowing. Well, it's not really fun. Funny or fun.
It's
exciting.
It's a story to tell.
It's all completely rotted through. Death watch beetle and woodworm side by side. Well, we've been pig farming for most of my life and wanted to set up something slightly different, I suppose. All my family have always been in the east and Catherine's family always in the west, so we thought, well, maybe the in-laws are the way to go. So,
rather than the outlaws?
Yes, rather than the outlaws.
It's the Thames. It is not the Avon! The Avon!
So we moved west. It was just after the market had crashed. It was still quite expensive, but we decided, well, we go for something big.
Your eyes lit up when you saw it, of all the farms we went to see. First impressions from my perspective were not quite the same, though. The house was very much crumbling, an awful lot of work, and are we really going to ever be able to do anything with it in time to make an income, to live on?
And we still ask that question. It's basically a manor house that's been turned into a farmhouse. As regards buildings, you've got the main house, derelict side and livable side, we call it. The coach house, none of which can be lived in. And the farm buildings, there's a grade 2 listed building, which is an old-fashioned stone barn. It hasn't been touched at all historically, and there are more questions than answers. One thing we don't know about this place is its history. Lots of people say they know things, but they all disagree with each other, so it's quite interesting.
In English, they said, "Oh, describe a room in your house," and like everyone was reading, "Oh, my room has a bed in it." And I'm just like, "Oh, the graffiti room. Oh, one of my rooms has bats in it." It's amazing.
I think it's the most historical place in the whole.
Over the years, people have signed their names or written poems on the wall.
This one. Oh,
And as far as we know, no one's like rubbed it out, and everyone's like preserved all the names. Who's it by though? Pass.
Pratchett.
Oh, Pratchett. That's the people
Yeah.
from before, wasn't it?
We're writing down like as many poems as we can and then photographing it all.
We're hoping to have a whole book full of all the names and poems. So if they do demolish it, and we at least have who lived there.
That's in 1916. When you see the poems and the names from people who have been there, like way back, I think it's quite interesting because you know that probably hundreds of people have been living there and like seen this. How amazing that it's still actually
Standing.
standing.
The initial idea was to make it into a sustainability centre. We've always been interested in the sustainability side, but this place is listed, and trying to bring those two elements together is the difficult part. And we couldn't see anybody doing it. There was nobody who was really into sustainability of big old houses.
We felt that there must be a market for retrofitting old houses, historic houses, that will be acceptable to the historians as well as to the people that have to live in them, which is a bit of a challenge because historians are always quite a challenge.
The idea of changing it into a worthwhile business was uppermost in our mind. But then, of course, cold reality hits home.
Cold being the operative word.
Yes. Bacon spire. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Okay.
And it rhymes with desire, which comes another couple of lines on.
How many beams have we got to replace? And I also think we need to do the main first, the water main. Do that before it gets really cold and icy.
Also the light, we can work inside with lights, whereas in the water main it's going to be dark at 4.
Yeah.
There's a crack in the ceiling of my room, and you need to put your foot through it so you can put a board up for it. I was hoping...
Because you've also got the water main and the trees and...
Well, my ceiling's much more important. Our old house, I think, compared to this one,
smaller.
We didn't need as much planning permission.
Hi, Nicola. We've just been talking about whether or not some of those beams are going to have to be replaced. Whether, if they're like, I mean, obviously the one in the sitting room was not a like-for-like repair, but some of the other ones will be. So if they're a like-for-like repair, presumably we could ring them up and say, we're going to replace this beam, it's a like-for-like repair, do you object?
Mum and Dad, they're always going on about, we need to get planning permission, and they go a bit,
It's just
you have to be very impatient.
You have to be very patient.
Yeah.
If, let's say, you wanted to knock down that wall, you had to first wait for your parents to say okay, then you have to wait for the government.
The government.
The people, the business people.
Conservation.
Yeah, that's it. The conversation people.
Conversation. The conservation officer.
Who knows how long it's going to be? How long's a piece of string? We've had one building consent on the emergency works for the coach house. That's the only one we've had in so far.
A lot of people are standing in our way, which can make you angry, I suppose, but you've got to be philosophical about it. We've got English heritage wrapped round us, we've got conservation officers wrapped round us. All very nice people, all very well-meaning, but it is slowing us down dreadfully. And time is money.
Okay, bye. That's the architect, who is very helpful and very nice, and seems to think that a year down the line she's going to finally get the planning permission in. I do feel she kowtows too much to the listed building woman, conservation officer, but I think it's in her professional integrity to do so. So I think we have to just deal with her now. So. She says it's all online for 2 weeks. We hope. But I've got to redo this statement. There's just a typo in it. Here.
Right.
So Oxwick Farm was bought by us in February 2010. We saw it as an opportunity to be custodians of a remarkable and individual house, as well as providing a family home and a business. We were aware of the incredible neglect Oxwick had suffered over the centuries, and that any sustainable and sympathetic restoration to ensure its future would be a substantial undertaking and a huge investment. People will stop buying heritage properties and will stop being prepared to spend the money on them unless they can make them cost effective, and that they can not be throwing fossil fuels at them, which is going to get more and more expensive. And so then we'll slowly start to lose our heritage because they'll all start falling down. And I think that's something that really the heritage people need to look at. because to lose some of these sort of properties would be very sad. And although we haven't got listed building consent yet, they have finally allowed us to take down an extremely modern wall. We were originally told we couldn't get rid of it, but they have now backtracked on that and said that we can take down the very modern illegal wall that's in the middle of one of our rooms.
Ah. Seems to be that seems to have done the job. Well done.
I think that might be the final shot.